If you want to learn about how to balance and maintain your faith every day, you need to be here at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, being taught by Ustadha Laila Nasheeba, streaming on all major platforms. Channel Sunnahfollowers. Hope to see you there, inshallah.
Sins are the same, no matter the kind. Is this statement true or false?
False. False.
Mashallah, everybody agree? Okay, one of the sisters here. I knew that was going to come up. One of my new shahadas. Yeah. Okay, the new shahada here said, yes, I see. Sister Aisha said that she thought this would be true. Because isn't it not true, Sister Layla, that all sins are actions of disobedience? How would you guys respond to that, the two sisters that answer, Mina and Nia, or Nia? Is it not true that all sins are actions of disobedience to Allah? And if so, then why is it that they, what do you mean when you say that they are not the same? Let's hear how you respond.
I would say that is true, but then we have sins that are sins of disbelief, and then sins that are major sins that, take us out of the fold of Allah. And that's what makes them different. That's what makes, the sins different.
Okay. Mina, good job, Nia. That was pretty good.
So me, I would say that it's different because the major sins is basically the sins that we doing in our actions that we know we're not supposed to do. The minor sins is the ones that we didn't know. So say, for instance, you were new shahada and you didn't know what you was doing was a sin. So it's two different things in the two categories. So we would be in true or false.
Okay, mashallah, good job. They're both explaining it pretty well. Okay, yes, all sins are actions of disobedience, but it depends on whether the person is deliberately disobeying Allah or unknowingly disobeying Allah. You understand, Sister Aisha? And also, as Sister Aya said, some actions of disobedience are worse than others. As Sister Nia said, some sins can take you out of Islam and make you a non-believer, and other sins just make you a sinful person. So those are all examples as to, yes, even though all sins are actions of disobedience, they're of different levels, different categories. And also it depends on the intention and the knowledge of it and all of that. Good job. All of their answers put together. They put all their answers together, formulated the most correct answer. I'm proud of all of them. Good job. You understand, Aisha? Yes. She says she got it. She got it. Okay. And then the second question, just two today. Who can give an example as to how some major sins are worse than others? Give me an example as to how some major sins are worse than others.
Let me make sure this is sound.
Who is that, guys?
Oh, you know what that's? Oh, I'm so sorry. That's me thinking. I'm so sorry.
Oh, girl, I thought that was Amina Antar. I was about to say, is that Antar trying to answer?
No, see, that's how I think through stuff. I am so sorry.
That's good. Well, that's why you get it right. That's how I answer. I thought you was answering. Okay, Aya put an example here. Aya said, let me see her. Hold on, let me get your. She said, for example, the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, having sexual relations with your neighbor's wife is worse than having sexual relations with somebody that is not your neighbor. Y'all see that? Is that a good example? Why is it that a man who has sexual relations with his neighbor, how is it that that's worse than having sexual relations with somebody at the job? Can anybody explain?
Because he's destroying two families. She destroying her family and he's destroying his own.
Well, let's say that the one at the job got a family too.
Is it because we owe our neighbor rights, and doing that is a violation of those rights?
Good job, but more else. What else is she missing? Listen again. How is it that if a man has sexual relations with his neighbor, that's worse than having sexual relations with a person that lives an hour away?
It breaks the commandment.
Get off
that. As far as distance.
Okay, say it again.
The neighbors have a special rights. Like we are going against their rights, number one. And
okay, well, everybody has rights. But what are y'all missing here?
No,
what
I mean, basically.
Okay, what are they missing?
Our neighbors and.
Okay, y'all got it right there on YouTube and stuff. But I'm trying to get my Zoom people to stop panicking and come up with the right answer. Y'all got it when I said that they get to panic and they scared. You know, let's try it again, Geechee. And I basically put it out there in her face, didn't I? But she's panicking. Why would it be worse if I have sexual relations with the man that lives next door to me, as opposed to having sexual relations with a man that lives in another city from me?
Will the temptation be too great because of the proximity of
the commandment?
Okay, somebody else try. Let's hear it. Y'all all got it right on the Reddit. Everybody else got it right on social media. Why is it that my Zoom people can't think? They freak out when I ask them? And I gave that. It's so right in their face. Come on, try it again. Try it again. We can't hear you.
Is it because it's breaking a commandment?
What, doesn't the command apply to anyone? What's the difference? The question is, what's the difference? Why is it that it would be worse if I had sex with my next door neighbor than having sex with a man that lives in another country? Let's make it country now. See if they can get it.
I'm gonna say because you're known in this area, y'all know each other.
I don't think there is.
People know each other.
Part of it. What is it? Oh goodness. They don't get it. Yeah, y'all. They don't get it.
I'm gonna say basically the intention, because the person.
My intention is the same, to have sex. They ain't got nothing to do with it. They don't.
Okay.
I think they panicked. Everybody is laughing at y'all. I think what it is, guys, the people in my Zoom room, these are my real students. And I think they become intimidated for some reason with my quizzes. But they know these answers because their children can come in here and answer these questions with no problem. It's just that they clam up when it comes to a microphone, I think, and they get nervous because they don't want to be wrong. You know. Good job, Fatima. You got it. Exactly, Fatima. See, you should have been in the Zoom room. Good job, Sister Fatima. Let me read to you people in Zoom what Fatima typed, and I want to see if y'all can piggyback off her answer. Why would it be worse if I had sexual relations with my neighbor instead of having sexual relations with a man that lives in another country or on another planet? Fatima said, because having sex with my neighbor is a betrayal of mutual understanding and helping one another, supporting one another, and of trust. And when you break that trust, the trust of a community, that's worse than breaking the trust of just an individual. Good job,
so is
Fatima.
that saying that they were too close to home?
Basically, in plain hip-hop English, yeah. You know,
Okay.
remember, everything in Islam, charity begins at home. When it comes to zakat, we're supposed to take care of the people in our community first. Islam is all about establishing brotherhood, establishing an Islamic community. Fatima got it right. You know, I broke our community. I betrayed our trust of the community. My neighbor is my community. He lives right next door. We're supposed to look out for each other. When I go out of town, my neighbors got my back. They're going to make sure ain't nobody going to break in my house. Now, if I'm rocking the boots, I'm using hip-hop English. If I'm knocking the boots of my neighbor's man, do you think she going to look out for my children when my children get off the school bus? Do you think she's going to look out for my house when I'm gone? No, she's going to hold a grudge against me. She's going to be angry at me because I rocked the boots, knocked the boots with her husband. So I destroyed this trust, this betrayal, this bond of a community. Do y'all get it? People in Zoom.
Yeah, I get it now.
Y'all got to think better. Y'all have to stop panicking. And it's right. When I said out the country, out the city, that should have given y'all the clue. Girl, we breaking the, that's now it's a community. It's Islamic community.
Sister Laila, somebody did say it though. They said, is it because, you know, it's your neighbor and your neighbor is, you know, just too close? And you was like, that's not quite it.
Yeah, they should have given more. They needed to elaborate. What did we talk about today? What did we talk about today, the 2 o'clock class? Articulate. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was very articulate, and he taught us to articulate. You just can't throw words out. I want to hear it. Too close how? What does being too close? Explain, like Sister Fatima did. It's too close because we betrayed a trust. This is a community. I betrayed the trust of the community. Y'all see that? Not just the family, the community, because every adultery is a sin against everybody's family. But now this is a family that's right here, that I'm a part of that community. If you can't trust the people in your community, you're lost, right? Now do y'all get it? You have to articulate it. Don't just throw the answers out there. You got to give the details of the answer. Y'all understand now? Yeah. And that's the problem today with a lot of the masajids. We don't have that community bond. Look how many of these brothers have broken the trust by molesting the children. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Look at those brothers down there in Texas. I don't have to name them, just tell y'all where they are. They in Texas. Okay, we got a couple of them in jail now waiting for trial. Why is it so bad that they did what they did? Because they betrayed the trust between a teacher and its students, but also their school, you know, their communities, everything. Okay? Subhanallah. If he molested some non-Muslim kid, it still is bad. If the kid were non-Muslim, if the kid lived in a different city, it would still have been bad. But it's worse because the child you transgressed against was part of your community, part of your curriculum, part of your school. You violated the trust of the people, and the people are not going to trust your school anymore. They're not going to trust your community anymore. They're going to want to move away. Y'all see? You have to take these things y'all are learning in class and apply them in real life. That's why Texas is off place. I wouldn't recommend nobody go to Texas to move with their children, because this is an epidemic, it seems like, in most of the masajids down there. I'd rather homeschool my children than put them in a Muslim school, especially in Texas, because this ain't the first time it's happened. This ain't the second time it's happened. It's not even the third time it's happened. Okay? The trust is gone. The betrayal is gone. To be honest, those schools need to be shut down. If you ask me, shut them down. The trust is gone. Get rid of, shut them all down. Something is going on. If it's happening more than once, it doesn't happen more than twice, it doesn't happen more than 3 times, then that's a problem with your administration. The people in charge got issues, so I'd shut them all down. Okay? So to do it that close at home is worse than doing it from a far distance, even though they're both bad. Everybody get it? You got it too, Aisha? Yes. Yes, it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Yes. Community is everything in Islam. Brotherhood, sisterhood is everything in Islam. Everything begins at home. Home is the foundation. The community is the foundation of society. Okay? Yes, good job. Okay, so that summarizes what we talked about yesterday. And that's a great example that Sister Aya gave us. That's a hadith from the Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet said to commit adultery with your neighbor is worse than committing adultery with anyone else. For that reason, you broke the trust, betrayed the community, and everything else. All right. So now what I'm going to do is go into speaking about the different types of major sins. And this is where I stopped off yesterday. Let me make it bigger for myself so I can see, because my contact is blurred up for some reason. When it comes to sins, the sins can be classified into 4 categories. Malikiya sins, Shaitaniya sins, Sabia sins, and Bahimia sins. I'm going to break down what these words mean in English. Give me a second. I'm having my allergies backed up for some reason. Okay. Malikiya sins. These are the worst. These are sins committed when you take upon yourself the qualities of Allah's lordship. Maliki Yawmiddin, Fatiha. That should have been the clue. Maliki Yawmiddin, Malikiya. Okay? These are actions belonging only to Allah. The actions of Allah's lordship, such as pride, arrogance. You think that you are the best of the best. One of the Dawah brothers calls himself a giant. That's a term of arrogance. I would never refer to myself as a giant of the Dawah. That's a term of arrogance. And as soon as you said it, what happened? As soon as he referred to himself as being a giant of the Dawah, Allah took him down in a worse way. Only Allah is the greatest. Don't ever call yourself the greatest, okay? The most high. That the people are beneath you, okay? The sins that belong to this category are the most serious kind. And remember, Maliki Yawmiddin, that belongs to Allah alone. So Malikiya sins are sins where you are putting yourself in the shoes of Allah. You're equating yourself to Allah. You think that you are Allah. You think that you are deserving of what only Allah is deserving of. That's why you should never call yourself a mufti either. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam would not like it if he were alive today and heard these brothers calling themselves not only giants and the Most High, but calling themselves mufti. The Prophet said, never, ever name yourself a name that you can never live up to. He said, don't call yourself Taki. And Taki means righteous. He said, when only Allah knows who the righteous are. What would he say about a brother calling himself a mufti? Y'all know what mufti means? It means I'm the most intelligent person in the world. That's arrogance. Who are you? You ain't El Kidder. That's a lesson that Moses, alayhi salam, had to learn. Moses learned that he doesn't know it all, that there's always somebody that knows more than you. He learned that lesson from El Kidder. But we got a lot of famous personalities who call themselves muftis and call themselves giants and kings and all of that. These are Malikiya sins. Now do y'all see why Allah has sent this war? And every brother I know, every person I know that refers to themselves as a mufti is being slapped down like crazy by Allah. Okay? We got to be careful of these type of sins. The next category of sins are shaitania. That word alone should give it away. Shaitan, devil. Shaitan, devil. That should tell you what type of sins these are, like Malikiyon, Maliki, okay? Maliki, that's highness of Allah. Well, Shaitania, these are the sins that resemble Shaitan, such as jealousy. That's why I tell you, as Muslim women, and I am a woman, I can get as jealous as the next woman. Thank God I ain't got a reason. The only time that you'll see my jealousy come out is if I had a man. If I had a man, oh yeah, I don't want no woman looking at my man. You ain't gonna look at him. You ain't gonna talk about him. I'm gonna bust your face in. I get very jealous of my man. My man. I ain't got no man, so I ain't gotta worry about it. I got two men. My man is Karen. That's my cat. And the other one has no name. Okay? But these are the sins that resemble Shaitan because they're evil. Shaitania sins are evil. And when something is evil, it can bring harm to people. That's hatred. That's envy. That's lying, cheating, deception. Planning to take people down, planning to destroy somebody's reputation, ordering somebody to sell drugs, ordering somebody to take somebody's life. These are evil sins that lead to the destruction of someone else. And also in this category is innovation, bid'ah. Committing innovations in the religion, like what we see doing today, Shaitania sin. The brothers praying in the streets instead of the mosque. You on Times Square thinking that you doing something. Oh yeah, the Dower brothers are there too. The Dower brothers hanging in the streets doing prayers too for the camera. When the Prophet Muhammad was clear, he said, get those prayers out of the street. Get them in the mosque, okay? But you're innovating. You're going to make your prayers in the streets because you think you giving dawah. When Allah says that he's the one that makes Muslims, not you. Allah says that only he can change the heart of man, not you. And he don't need your help in doing it. So you're calling people to innovations. You're calling the brothers to come and meet at the corner of the street and make salah instead of going to the mosque to pray behind the imam. You know, this is a Shaitania sin. For you sisters out there, you're telling other women don't listen to Laila Nasheeba because Laila Nasheeba's a Wahhabi. If you listen to Laila Nasheeba, you won't be able to wear belts. Oh, that's what they saying. By the way, this is what they saying about me too. If you follow that Wahhabi, Laila Nasheeba, you won't be able to wear a belt. You won't be able to show your beautiful feet in your sandals. She's a Wahhabi. If you listen to Laila, you know, you wouldn't go to school to be a psychiatrist because Laila doesn't believe that science has anything to do with a law. Oh, yeah, that's what they're saying. Okay. All right. So this category of sins is second to the malikia sins and harm, even though these sins are not as bad as pretending to be a law. Okay? To call yourself a mufti is worse than cheating someone. Because mufti, you're putting yourself on a level with the law, saying that nobody knows more than you, when Allah says only He is the all-knowing. You're competing with Allah, whereas if you cheat me out of some money, that's a sin too, but it ain't a sin against the law. So that's shaitania. This is the second worst type of sin. Then the third category are the sabbiya sins. These are sins of transgression, you know, anger. You got so angry, you can't control your temper, so you call me the B word. How many of us women do that? We get mad and use that B word. Oh yeah, that's a sabbiya sin. You want to bully people. How many of you children are bullying other Muslims in school? I was looking at a video where another famous personality from out of Texas, he's got a son who's a bully. And they had the video of his son bullying the heck out of other kids because he's the son of the great sheikh, astaghfirullah, pouncing upon the weak. Okay? Sabbiya sins. You're a bully. You hurt somebody because you couldn't control your anger. Okay? You know, you transgressed the limits of other people. You stole my car. You stole my car to pay me back. Okay, that's a sabbiya sin. These are sins of transgression. You stole my purse. That's a sabbiya sin. You went to the grocery store. You stole some food. You stole from the bank. Those are sins of transgression. So remember, sabbiya sins. Anytime we transgress the rights of another person, that's a sabbiya sin. Okay? Also adultery. Fornication. Fornication. That's a sabbiya sin. Okay? Any type of sins of transgression. And then the last type of sin, these are easy. These are bahemia sins. These are the sins that you do to hurt yourself. Overeating. How many of us are overweight because we eat too much? You're harming no one but yourself. Or you're satisfying your own desire. Okay? Your own desire. This is fornication too. This is adultery too. Stealing can fall in this category too. Okay? Impatience. You hurt yourself by being impatient. Okay? Hating yourself. You hurt yourself by hating yourself. So these are the sins of gluttony and desire. And they're usually committed against yourself or against your stomach or your private parts. So fornication, adultery, drinking alcohol, a drug addict, you can fall in this category because you're hurting yourself. Smoking cigarettes, That's a Bohemia sin. You're hurting yourself. You're causing yourself to end up with cancer or something. Okay? And so you can see that this diversity of sins and their effect upon your faith traces back to different considerations. For example, the class of the sin, the amount of times you do it. If you smoke cigarettes every day, you're really destroying yourself. But if you're an occasional smoker, you only smoke once a month, okay, it may not be as destructive, but it's still destructive. Okay, and also the degree. Smoking cigarettes may not be as destructive as smoking marijuana. Whereas cigarettes open the door to cancer, marijuana is destroying your brain. Marijuana is making you stupid. Marijuana is affecting your nervous system. And also when we look at the different types of sins, the place and time matters too. To smoke cigarettes in Mecca, which is the holy land of Mecca, is worse than smoking cigarettes here in Cleveland, Ohio. To commit adultery in the Prophet's mosque is worse than committing adultery in the mosque in your hometown. And also the person doing the sin. Laila Nasheeba, I am a person of knowledge. If I smoke cigarettes, my punishment would be greater than the new Shahada because I know better. I know better. So Allah may punish me more severely than he would Sandra for smoking. All right? And let me give an example. I just gave some, but let's give some more. A person who commits a crime secretly is less sinful than a person who does it publicly. Let's say I smoke cigarettes. Let's say I smoke marijuana, but you don't know it. I do it only in my house when there's nobody around. So if I smoke marijuana and I'm only doing it in secret in my house, I'm not as sinful as a person that stands out on the corner and smokes marijuana, even though they're both sins, even though I am going to be punished. Allah is going to punish me because smoking marijuana is haram, but the punishment would be more severe for the one who does it publicly than the one who does it secretly. Why? Because the person who hides his sin has more fear of Allah than the person who doesn't. That's just common sense. The fact that I'm sneaking and smoking cigarettes means that I have more fear of Allah than that sister over there who could care less who sees her. The sister over there who doesn't care if people see or know she smokes, she's heedless. What does it mean to be heedless? A heedless person doesn't care. So she's of a greater sin than I am because I do care. So that's why I'm hiding it, even though we're both going to be punished. Okay? And we're both wrong. And again, having sexual relations with a wife of your neighbor is worse than having it with a person who's far from home because of its connection to harming the neighbor and not maintaining the structure, the instruction of Allah in regards to the community and all of that. Okay? So thus, guys, we already know all sins are actions of disobedience to Allah. And whenever we deliberately, intentionally disobey Allah, we have committed a sin, a major sin, because we did something that we already knew we were not supposed to do. But the sin can also be of more punishment, depending on the category that the sin falls in. Also, depending on the degree of its harmful effect. Am I just hurting myself, or is the sin hurting other people? And also, it depends on the amount of times I commit that sin, and also the place I committed at, and whether I really care or not. Okay, all of this will contribute to how low your faith will drop. That's why the faith of a scholar, if a person who's a true scholar deliberately, intentionally commits fornication, can you imagine the guilt that person lives with? It's harder for him to get over his guilt. It's harder for him to live with himself because he knew better. His position with the law was closer than most people's position. And he violated his authority. He had violated his position. And a lot of these people who were people of knowledge who commit sins like that, they find it hard to come back from. But to show that they real scholars, you know what they do? They step down. They step down. They step down from their positions. They say, since I violated my trust with the law, I violated the trust with the people, I step down. I will not no longer hold this position as a judge or a scholar.